Good evening, everyone. It is Coach BJ with Transformative Talks, and I am so excited. So, I'm going to wait for some people to come on. We're going to be talking about an awesome topic tonight, when the trust is broken. So, I'm just going to wait for everybody to come in. I'm actually on both Facebook Live and I am on YouTube Live, my YouTube channel. So I've been able to expand a little bit to try to give people who are either not on social media or maybe that are on Instagram an opportunity to come and join this talk. This talk is going to be about 20 minutes, like it has been for the last couple of weeks since I've started doing these. So I won't take up much of your time. But the little nuggets and tools that I do provide, I hope you guys get something out of it. So I'm super excited for you guys to come on. Thank you guys for joining. If you choose to share this, please go ahead and share this video while we're beginning to get started. If you want to start a watch party, feel free to do that as well. Thank you guys for coming on. I'll give it about one more minute. I'm going to go ahead and get started to be respectful of everyone's time. And I'm just so appreciative that you're taking this few minutes out of your night this evening to join me for this talk. It's going to be awesome. And again, I hope you guys get something out of it. So thank you guys for joining. Come on in. And if you guys can hear me, give me a thumbs up. Put a comment in the box. Let me know you can hear me. Okay, awesome. We had a few technical difficulties last week, so I just want to make sure not last week, 2 weeks ago when I did the last live. So I just want to make sure that we're good for this week. So I'm going to go ahead and get started again. Thank you guys for coming on and watching. The topic for tonight is going to be when the trust is broken. And I'm going to be focusing on two areas in this topic. On this topic is how to rebuild the trust and open up yourself to trust again. And actually, one of the people that's been viewing over the last couple of weeks actually requested that I do a talk on this topic about trust and broken trust and, healing and all of those things. So for you that's watching, I hope that I do this topic justice. And I say that to say, if there's anyone that have a topic that they're struggling with or would like to receive some tips and tools around in order to help you in a certain area, definitely message me or connect with me in some way to let me know. And I will be more than happy to put together a topic that will meet your needs. Again, I am here to serve. That is the purpose of these talks, and to serve only. So again, I appreciate you guys coming on and watching. So as I always said at the beginning of these talks, a couple of things before we dive deep into the topic is that a lot of the information that I communicate are either from my professional or my personal experience, my perspectives, and there's some things a lot of times that I gather from my educational materials. And there's also some areas where I do go online to get additional resources, like from Psychology Today, healthline.com. So there's other avenues and websites that I use in order to put these talks together. So just to let you know, wanted to put that out there. And I also let everybody know to get ready to take a lot of notes because we're going to be really, I'm going to be really talking about a lot of things, and hopefully you can catch a few things. And if not, the replay will always be out there for you to catch them. But again, if you can go ahead and grab your journal, a paper and pencil, and get ready to take some great notes. The next thing is I will say also is that, I have the questions and the content that I communicate in these talks to you. But only you have the answers. Everybody responds differently to the information that they receive. So I can, again, provide the questions and the conversation to spark, something within you, but it's up to you in order how you receive that and how do you use these resources moving forward. And I always like to start off with a quote based on the topic that I discussed on these talks. So I'm going to go ahead and move right into that quote. And the quote is, "Trust takes years to build, seconds to break, and forever to repair." And that quote is by Darman. And when I saw this quote, I was like, oh, wow, this is a great quote, for this topic because it's so true. I mean, it definitely takes years for you to really open up yourself to someone and trust them, and it takes seconds to break. Like as soon as somebody do something wrong, it's like, oh, there's the relationship. And then it takes forever to repair the relationship. So hopefully I can, provide some tools in this talk to hopefully help you to repair those relationships that you wish to continue on in successfully. Now, let's talk about the people that can break your trust. Now, if you see the various pictures that I have up on this slide, there are so many people and so many relationships that we have where people can break your trust. So it's not just about romantic relationships or infidelity where someone cheats or something like that. That is the most common one that most people talk about when it relates to trust. But I'm going to break down some other types of trust and some other type of relationships where the trust can truly be broken. So romantic relationships, of course, so that's spouses, boyfriends, girlfriends, some people say friends with benefits, however you use the terms, those romantic relationships, right? Long-term friendships. So that can be people you've known since childhood, high school friends, friends that you retain, since college, your best friends forever, all of those terms we use for long-term and endearment for our friends. And then you have your family relationships, right? You have your parents, you have your siblings and extended family members that can fall into that category. And then you have your work relationships. So that's your coworkers, your managers, your leaders, and then the last thing is church relationships. So that's your pastors, your ministry leaders, your fellow church members. So there are so many different type of relationships that can be impacted as it relates to trust. So again, to broaden your perspective, I mean, people, you really break your trust in a lot of categories. So you just want to be mindful of that. Now, let's look at the different types of trust relationships before we get into rebuilding and how to open up to new relationships. Let's talk about the type of trust relationships. And you might be surprised how many trust relationships there are. I know when I started to research this, I definitely was very surprised to see the amount of various relationships that trust relationships that can impact you. So there's confidence trust, there's competence, there's relationship, which is one we all know of. There's basic trust. There's people being authentic. As far as your trust there. You have organizational trust. Trusting yourself is a big one, right? Because a lot of times, given situations, we could definitely, blame ourselves for certain things. And then you have situational, you have leadership, so there's just so many different, types of trust that can be broken. So now let's get to some of the good stuff, right? So rebuilding trust when you've been betrayed. So having someone break your trust can leave you feeling hurt. It can leave you feeling shocked. It can leave you feeling physically sick a lot of time, depending on the extreme of the hurt, depending on the extreme of the trust, depending on even the person that really betrayed your trust can leave you feeling in a lot of different ways. So the first step in you understanding, or at least rebuilding trust would be, do you want to re-enter into a relationship with this person? Do you want to rebuild that? That's the first question you need to ask yourself. And don't automatically have assumptions or even force yourself to try to rebuild a relationship with someone that don't have good intentions or is not moving you forward in a way that works for you in your life, in your family, in your lifestyle, whatever that might be. So the first question you want to ask yourself is, do I even want to rebuild, a relationship? Do I want this person back in my life? you know but I will tell you, in some cases you don't have a choice in the matter, because it might be your spouse, it might be your parent, it might be a child. There's close relationships where the trust can be broken. So we want to be able to, in those type of relationships, we want to look at how we can, how I want to put it, how we can provide healthy boundaries. It put distance between us, especially at the beginning of the trust relationship. You want to put distance between you until you can really assess, do self-assessments and determine what that looks like for you. But then when you decide if you want to rebuild the trust with that person, then you can create healthy boundaries to make it safe and, comfortable for you in order to be able to move forward. And so the next thing, and I guess you hear my kids coming downstairs. Oh my God, so embarrassing. So I'm in the live, kids. You need to go back upstairs, okay? All right, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'm sorry, guys. I can't believe this is happening in real time. Go back upstairs, please. Okay, so the next thing is consider the reason behind the betrayal. And the reason I say to consider the reason behind the betrayal is because, the reason that they've lied, not saying that it's right or wrong, but the reason that they could have, lied could have been to protect you. It could have been to protect you from, and I see people laughing, to protect you. It also could have been to protect you from bad news. It could have been a financial situation. It could have even been to help a family member out, right? And again, I'm not saying that the betrayal is right or what they did, but again, consider all aspects and reason that someone could have betrayed you, which brings me to my next point. So my next point is communicate, communicate, communicate. And I cannot say that enough. That is definitely the third thing, is that you want to be able to communicate. So of course, it might be painful at the beginning, and it may be a hard time to rebuild the trust. And you don't want to rush in rebuilding the trust right away either. So you want to really have, when you're comfortable and ready to be able to sit down and talk to the person about the situation. So you want to be able to set aside some time to say, hey, we need to have a conversation about this. So you can understand clearly, where things went wrong, to be able to communicate yourself, how you feel about the situation, how they feel about the situation, why they betrayed their trust, why did they betray your trust and hurt you, right? And then, one of the things you need to do is for us to start rebuilding is you want to be able to give them a chance to talk. You want to give them a chance to apologize, but you also want to make sure that they are sincerely sorry, right? You want to be able to see that, right? But if you don't really address it and communicate and really sit down and have a conversation with the person, you really don't know what their intentions are. As I said before, consider the betrayal and what it was. So there's so many factors that we leave out. Once someone betrays our trust, a lot of times we just shut down. We don't want to talk to the person anymore. And we're left not knowing, a lot of the answers to our questions. So communication is really key. Okay. And then the next thing is really big, is to practice forgiveness. If you want to repair a relationship after betrayal, forgiveness is definitely the key. And not only will you need to forgive that person, but you also may need to forgive yourself in the midst of, of doing that, right? Because a lot of times in situations, we tend to blame ourselves for the situation, which unfortunately keeps us in self-doubt, right? Did we add to this, especially when it comes to infidelity in a relationship? A lot of the times the person that's been cheated on, they may say, well, is it my fault? And, should I have done better? And you begin to bring the self-doubt. And, that's something that we don't want to do. So again, bringing on that self-doubt may hurt your chances of recovering in a relationship. And again, it might be hard for you to forgive the person at first, which is very much so understandable. But the thing is, you have to understand, in order to move forward, you have to practice forgiveness, and you have to allow the other person, especially if you want them to be a part of your life moving forward, that there's some openness to trusting again, right? So forgiveness is the key on that. And then the fifth one is avoid dwelling in the past. One of the things that we do a lot of times is that we have this fear-based instinct that, if a person betrayed me once, they're definitely going to do it again. So once again, if you're going to forgive the person, if you're going to give them another chance, and you want to rebuild a relationship with this person, avoid dwelling in the past. Because of course you have done your due diligence already, as we talked about before, and asking yourself the question, if you want to still be in the relationship, asking yourself the question, if you want to be able to move forward, you've forgiven this person, you've communicated to this person. So now is your ability to try to move forward. Again, it doesn't make, it easy, or it's going to take some time. But again, if you're going to move forward in a relationship, you want to not bring it up, or, I just believe you're going to do this to me again. And you're always living in fear and anxiety, like, you're going to break my trust again. Or if I tell you a secret, you're going to break my trust again. Right. So we don't want that. Okay. So the second half of this talk is talking about opening up yourself up to new relationships. Okay. So moving forward, we have to be intentional about the relationships we want to enter. Right. We just can't carelessly say, oh, this person can be in my life and this person can be connected to me, because everybody is not meant to be in your life and everybody is not meant to be connected to you. So you want to do your due diligence up front when you're entering any type of the relationships that we mentioned earlier, whether it's romantic, whether it's business, whether it's, church relationships, whether it's, family. You don't really have a choice, but those relationships, right? So you want to be intentional about that. Okay. And so the first thing you want to do when you enter into a new relationship is that you want to ask yourself these 3 questions. And if you have your journal or your paper out, go ahead and write down these 3 questions. Or again, as I said, you can feel free to look at the replay and ask yourself these questions. So first of all is, what is my intention for entering this relationship? That's the first question you want to ask yourself. What are my intentions of entering this relationship? And the second question would be is, what am I looking to gain from this relationship? What am I looking to gain? And then the third question you want to ask yourself is, what am I looking to add to the relationship, right? Because in relationships, it's a give and take. So you want to know, what am I looking to give in this relationship, right? Do I have the capacity, the bandwidth to give what I need to and add to this relationship as I should? So those are the 3 critical questions that you need to ask yourself before you enter into a new relationship. And if all the answers feel comfortable to you, that's the first step. Great. So guess what the second step is for you to do? The second step is for you to now ask the person the same questions. So then the questions will be like, what is your intentions for entering a relationship with me? And what are you looking to gain from a relationship with me? And what are you looking to add to this relationship, right? So once you ask them those questions and you feel comfortable and you feel like they're in your reason, they're in your life for a reason, they're positive and they're able to move the friendship or relationship forward, then good, you got a match and you can at least start there. So you can start the rebuilding process there, right? But that's not the only thing. So I'm going to move to the next thing, right? So the next thing is that the traits you will find in people you can't trust. So being able to actually pinpoint untrustworthy people is hard, because a lot of people, when you enter a relationship with them, they put up a facade and, as people say, bring you their representative, right? But not actually, the person until some time passed. And then a lot of times you're able to see who they truly are, right? And again, trust is, as I mentioned earlier, is oftentimes misconstrued with, if I tell you a secret and you keep my secret, then that means you're a trustworthy person. No, that is far from the truth, right? It may just not be, it may be a secret that they don't care to tell anybody, or it's not juicy enough, so to speak, right? So it doesn't always mean if someone keeps your secret that they're trustworthy, right? And one of the other things, how you know someone is trustworthy, is that you can depend on them. They're an honorable person. They're there for you. It's just so they have your best interest at heart. Those are the people that you want to keep close and keep in your life, right? But let me show you some traits of people, some common traits that are found in people that you can't trust. So here's the second step in opening up yourself to new relationships, is to see if some of the people have these qualities, right? So some of the qualities that people can have is, they are constantly changing friends. If you have someone that is constantly changing friends all the time, then that's probably a good sign that they don't have stability in relationships, and they're probably takers. So they're probably in and out, right? And then you have some people that are very negative. They don't have a positive thing to say. It's either negative about other people, negativity about their own life. So they tend to just be very negative, right? And then, you have people that lack empathy, they're reckless, they avoid, issues, they're unfaithful, materialistic, self-righteous. I can go on down the list. You guys can read the screen, but, they're manipulative. That's a big one. and they think they're always right a lot of times, right? So again, just take a look at these. And like I said, that's why I said to have that paper and pen down to be able to jot some of these things down. But yet again, you can watch the replay and capture some of this. So again, these are some of the signs you can look for. So as you've done step one, which is said, okay, I think we have a mutual, kind of connection where we can start our friendship or relationship. Now, let me start to look at some of these untrustworthy traits. Okay, so that's the second part. And then as you move forward and enter into these new relationships, before you open up yourself again, you want to consider giving yourself time to get to know the person. So that's the next step, because of course, oftentimes than not, some of those untrustworthy traits are going to end up showing up. Okay. And then the other thing is that you want to look for some of those traits, right? And if they're displaying too many of those traits, then you want to maybe take a step back and say, okay, well, let me revisit the 3 questions that I said, what am I looking for in this relationship? What am I looking to gain? What am I looking to give? Right. So you may want to cycle back to those 3 questions and ask yourself, what am I looking to give? Okay. So if you find yourself, in a predicament where, they're displaying some of these traits, then what you'll need to do is say, let me reassess this. And maybe I need to kind of cut this connection off early on so you don't end up getting hurt in the interim. Okay. And this is really powerful. And so I pulled this. This is not actually my end quote. I'm actually going to pull my end quote next. But this is very powerful because trust is as vital to healthy relationships as oxygen is to a scuba diver. Survival is impossible without it. Whether it's a naturally low propensity to trust, having unrealistic expectations, or letting our past hurt hold us back from trusting others, we have to move beyond these reasons. If we want to have trusted filled relationships in the future, this is what we have to do. Okay. And I want to end with a quote, like I always do, is to allow yourself to hope, believe, and trust again. Refuse to let one person who hurt you define how you respond to everyone else. And I really love that quote because that quote really speaks to, my godfather told me, wipe the plate clean, right? And start over, give someone new a chance, right? So don't let your past hurts be the predicament of how you're going to operate in the future. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the presentation, but I'm going to come back on live to see if there is any questions, any feedback or comments. I would love to answer any questions that you guys may have. And I appreciate you so much. So let me pull up the comment box and see what you guys have to say. I appreciate you guys so much for joining. Let me say that. And does anyone have any questions or comments they want to share? Any topics? As I said, they want me to do a talk on. I love to get feedback. I love research and I love utilizing my experience to, again, help move people forward. Any questions, anything anybody want to say before we end? And it may take a few seconds to kind of bring in quotes. I see people that are watching and have left me comments. Thank you so much. You guys have been great. I appreciate you. People are saying the quotes were beautiful. So I hope that something was said in this presentation to really help you deal with trusting again, rebuilding trust with people that you choose to continue relationships with. And I hope it was an opportunity for you to also determine the steps you can take on how to open yourself up to trust again in new relationships, right? So again, it's about being intentional. It's about asking yourself those questions, asking that person those same questions, and understanding that, the trust can be broken in several different types of relationships. So I don't see any questions coming through. I see that you guys are still watching. I just appreciate you guys so much. We'll be back here again in 2 weeks. As always, I typically send out the topic and the calendar on that Sunday. But every first and third Thursdays, I will be here as God allows. Every first and third Thursdays at 7 p.m., bringing you more information. So again, if there's any topics you want to learn more about, other than the ones that I just come up with and I pray about and see what, God wants me to talk about, That's what I do. So again, I don't see any questions coming from YouTube Live or Facebook. So I'm going to go ahead and end right now, but thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to connecting with you guys in a couple of weeks. And keep in mind that every Monday I release videos from my YouTube channel, Positive Mindset in Minutes. They're typically 2 to 3 minute videos that I release from YouTube to just help you shift from a negative to a positive in minutes. Or I try to give you a simple tip or a trick or something to help you live better in your overall wellness. So check those out every Monday. I typically release those at 12 o'clock on my YouTube channel, and I share them broadly to my other social media websites in the evening time. So thank you so much, guys, for watching. If you want to catch any of the notes, the replays will be out on all of these social media platforms. So you can go back and take some notes. Any questions you want to ask me, even after the live, feel free to connect with me, and I'll be more than happy to support you in any way that I can. Thank you so much for watching, guys. You have a great evening. Good night.